Okay, hello everyone. Welcome to week three, day one. I will make sure I begin the session at exactly the top of the hour, right? And I'm going to begin by looking at interview questions or basically MCQs that are going to touch base on the concepts we've covered, right? I don't want us to waste any time. I think in the past session we've been wasting maybe the first 5 minutes and stuff like that. So if you come early, you're going to benefit. All right. So let's get started. I will touch base on these questions right here. So first, this is a question from LinkedIn. It's a SQL certification uh, exam on LinkedIn. So all these questions you see right here, they are from LinkedIn, SQL certification on LinkedIn. Right. So I'll touch base on the ones we can solve so far. This is the third week. Okay. So what role does the word inventory play in this command? So I'm going to give you some time to look at this select statement right here and go through the options and see what best describe the word inventory. So first thing, look at the select statement and then go through the different options you see right here and tell me what best describe the word inventory.
C.
Okay, so C, A, B, C, it instructs the query engine to find books table in the inventory schema. So if you understand, they're trying to test your knowledge of, do you understand what a table is compared to what a schema? You see that? And if you look at the hierarchical structure, the top of the hierarchy is database, right? If you recall what we did in SQL Server Management Studio, once you're connected to the server, let me just put server at the top. Once you're connected to the server and you choose your specific instance, right? This is just a revision. The next thing you see is the database. So this is your server and instance information. You know, there's always that. Is it the? Let me check. It's I think it's a backward slash. You can actually find it when you go to this. Yes, it is a backward slash. So this is your server. That's your laptop name, and then this is the instance name. So server instance combination. So this is going to be this way instead. Oops. Right. So once you connect it to database, so you have your server and instance connection, next database. Before you get into the tables, the objects, there's something that comes in between, the schema, right? This is very, very important. So the goal of that question is to see if you understand schema and table, right? And the last thing right here, you get to the table. And then once you're inside the table, you can see the columns. Table is made up of what? Rows and columns. The rows plus the columns. Right. This is just gonna get us ready for this lecture. Rows and columns. See? Right. So tables are inside the schema. And we know that when you're writing queries, once you do a select star from, just a moment, let me connect to a database and let's do this. Academia. I want to access the student table. I just gonna put select star from schema. Let's go for dbo dot student. Once you put this is the schema, put a dot, you have the table name. Right. And I want to show you something I haven't mentioned previously. I can connect this to master or something different, maybe Google or some other different database. Right. If I type the database I want to connect to, so I want to show you an extension. You can type the database name. Let's go for AdventureWorks LT. I put a period. I see the schemas. See, so this I want to extend and go all the way to the database level. Database, put a period, you see the list of schemas. These are all schemas you see right here. And the schema I want to check is the sales LT schema. After the schema, so I'm right here. After the schema, you put a period, you get to the objects inside that schema. You see that? And this is where it stops because the from clause can only go all the way to the tables and nothing more. So if I want to get maybe the customer's information, if I put a period after the table, I get nothing. Why? Because I am at the from clause. The last thing on the from clause, it stops at the table. The from clause cannot go anywhere beyond the table. This is very important. And the advantage of doing this is that you can run this and it doesn't care what database is flagged right here. Why? Because you've provided the instruction for the database. This is an instruction. I want you to see this. It's like you purchase something on Amazon, you put your specific address and they deliver it on your doorstep. You see that? This is very, very precise. It tells the system, go to the database AdventureWorks LT 2022. Right. Connect to the sales LT schema and fetch all the columns from the customer table. This is very precise and this thing will deliver. It doesn't care what database is flagged right here, right? Because the database name is embedded in the instruction. So what we've been doing so far is we kind of separate these two. Right? I can remove this part, right? And I put a use statement to answer that question. Use this. See that? And in this approach, you always have to execute this. You see, it changes the context of the database. And now you can follow it up with this one. This is shorter, but then you see. So I don't want you to get confused when you see some other people doing the three-part object name at the level of the from clause. So instead of doing, let me take this on a new query window. So I open a new query window and I just put this, right, get the from clause, add the database name to the from clause. Should not get yourself confused when you see something like this. Like this. Maybe I put them on the same so that you let me put them on the same window so you can. So this is the first one. Alternatively, let's see. I think there's a better way to explain this. What can visually. Oh, anyway, yeah. So let's talk about that. This is what we've been doing. So each time you are solving a question, hey, what's the database? Use it. Use keyword to connect to it. This is the first thing you do. Make sure it's connected. And then you follow it up with the select star from the table of interest. That's our workflow. This is also possible. And the advantage of this is this will run no matter the scenario. So even if you're pointing to the wrong database, this will always run. You see that? So yeah, I just want you to understand that hey, this is possible. This is what we've been doing. We kind of separate out the two, this connecting to the database, and then this, maintain the two-part object name. But this one is just two in one. We know the database to analyze, and of course, we can pull the schema on the table. See this? And irrespective of what is flagged right here, this query will always run. Any question on that? So this is something I want you to remember. Okay, let's go back to this. So the goal of this question is to test your knowledge. Can you identify a schema? Can you identify a table? Right. So yes, this is correct. So it instructs the query engine to find books table. So books is a table. Remember, in the two-part object name, the second object is the table. The first one right here is a schema. You identify the schema first before you can access the table. And that's why when you put schema name and you put a period, you get a list of all the tables in that schema. These are tables. And you can correctly select the table you want to analyze. Okay. So yes, this should not be confusing. I'm just going to put the two options side by side. So this one, we just specify the database name on the from clause. This one, we first of all specify the database name, connect to it. Now we can run the select statement next to it. Okay, so there should be no confusion on this. This is a table, is books. Inventory is the schema. So what role does the word inventory play in this command? Right. So you see right here, it instructs the query engine to find the books table in the inventory schema. So when you execute this query, that's exactly what you're telling the database engine to do. Go find the customer table in the inventory schema and return all the columns. What to be returned is carried on the select clause. And where to find the location of the thing you want to return, that's what the from clause is there for. This is very important. I want you to see this is an instruction. Always look at the select statement as an instruction. You're fetching data. You're giving us precise information. Go fetch this data. And the thing to be returned is specified on the select clause. Where to find it, it's on the from clause. Columns come from tables. And today we're going to go in even further by adding a condition. That is the focus of today's lecture on the where clause. I want to show you the different ways you can bring in conditions. Are we okay? So that's our focus, right? There's a focus for today. The where clause. I think we have more. Let me see if I can pull up here. So at the end of today's lecture, we're going to come back and solve this question. This is all about the where clause, right? Because we can solve this. Let's solve this. And okay, we're gonna do this and this. This is a simple one. Let's begin with this one. I've been solving this question in class. What is the result of this query? You don't need to execute this query. You don't have, it's an interview, you don't have access to run it on Management Studio. All right, can you tell us the result if you execute this query? Select 123 plus 123. As a result, what do you get?
1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3.
Excellent. This is concatenation. This is joining. These are not numbers. You see, this is a string. If you join a string to a string, you get a string. And the string is just going to be a combination of this and this. You see, I've been doing this in class, and it was not just some fancy stuff we're doing. That's actually something very, very serious. And the underlying principle on that is what data type 123 plus 123. You have to see that this is the plus sign stays the same. Let me just do it the way it was done, and then we push this into a table, into a column called results. I'm going to copy this version again and change the data type. Now I want to address it as a string. See that? Right. Same plus sign. In the presence of a different data type, it will behave differently. These are numbers. Yes, you can sum numbers together. That's the summation sign right there. Yes, that's a summation process. An arithmetic process summation will happen. This right here is still the same plus sign, but these are strings. Can you sum up your first and your last name? You see, it's a string. This is a string. You see, right? If you run this, it's just simply going to join the two strings together, and that's exactly so. That's the correct. This one is the correct one. Don't fall trap on this one. You see that? This is very, very important. Okay, let's conclude with this one. This is what comments, and you just have to remember the two ways to comment in SQL: single line comment and block commenting. Right, this is a revision. Comment in SQL. The two ways to comment in SQL. First one is this one you see right here. The symbol is for what's single line comment. What I did right here, this is a single line, and I put this symbol in front of it. That's a comment. The next one is block commenting. This is the start symbol for the block comment. Anything you type inside is going to be treated as a comment. This is a closing symbol. Opening symbol for a block comment, closing symbol for a block comment. This one right here is a line comment. See that? Okay, having said that, let's go back to this question. So the goal in interviews, right? Every question has a scope. They're testing your knowledge of something. Once you spot what you're being tested on, that's really maybe 70% of being on the right path. See, it's worse when you don't understand what you're being tested on. It's difficult to even come up with an answer. So when you're reading this question, okay, the scope here is what? Comments. Yeah. So which option will not create a valid SQL comment? You have to also read the question carefully. Which option will not create a valid SQL comment? I'm going to give you time to go over this and identify the one that will not create a comment. So we are doing the opposite. Okay, let's begin with this one. All these three lines, is this valid comment in SQL? Let's do it step by step.
Yes.
These are all comments. That's correct. You see, with the respect, the symbol. It's a single line. We have a single line symbol coming right here. The next one, commented out, commented out. So this is valid. Let's go to the next one. This one, is this valid?
I think so.
Yes, this is a block comment. You
Yes,
see,
it's valid.
it
This is a
begins right
block
here
comment. It
and it
begins right
closes
here.
right here,
Right here.
and everything in between is a comment.
Everything in between is a comment.
So the secret is to find the opening symbol at the beginning and then make sure you go to the end and see that there's a closing symbol. And once you can identify those two, this is a valid comment. Are we okay? So this should not distract you. This asterisk, you see, your focus is on the symbol at the beginning and also the symbol at the end. So this is a valid SQL comment. This is a block commenting. See that? Let's go to this one. Same thing. Your focus is on this symbol, on this symbol. Is this a comment?
No,
Yeah. Why? Why is it not a comment?
because the asterisk comes before the slash.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah. So it's supposed to be this is the closing. See, this is the things you have to watch out. This one is correct. The opening symbol is like this, and this is the closing symbol. So yeah, and if I run this, it's not going to be processed. You see, if I remove those, even if I remove just one of these, yes, I've exposed it. This is a violation. I've exposed it to errors, and you see, I run it. The system actually runs it, and that's why it gives an error. Right. So this is. Let's go back. So this is a valid comment. This is a valid comment. So now you understand what you're tracking. This is a valid comment as well. Let's look at this last one. This first line is a valid comment. This is not a comment. This is not a comment. You see, if you take, let me show you on this side. If I take this symbol and place it at the end of the line, it's a violation. The system is going to process this. Normally, this is supposed to be a comment, but we've placed the symbol on the wrong side. It's supposed to be in front so that the system will not process it. You see? But then if we put it at the back, it's a violation. We expose it for processing. And when we run it, we get an error. So this is not a valid SQL comment. Right. So this is the correct one. Remember, we're looking at the option that will not create a valid SQL comment. This is it right here. Are we okay? Any question on this? Okay, all
No
good.
question.
Yeah, so I'm going to cancel out on this. Let's go to the objective for week 3. And the week 3, the main focus will be the where clause. I have the list of objectives right here, and our focus will be on this part for today. Tomorrow, we're going to go to the group by, right? So this is very important. This is where we are. We're going to be looking at this today. And if I have time, I'm going to throw in the order by, which is very simple as well. So that tomorrow, the focus will be on the group by and the having clause. Grouping. We're going to see that, right? Okay, so we know the focus for today, the where clause. And talking about the where clause, you have to go over those operators. Right? I have to pull up the lecture material for week 3. It's the same note we're just carrying forward. Right, so if you go to week 3, the one, this is the same notes from last week. Right, same document, you see. So this is what we're going to focus on. Let me just take you a little bit back. We have limiting or filtering the results of a query. The result of a query can be limited or filtered by imposing a condition. So only records which fulfill the specific condition will be returned. Give me a list of all female employees where gender equal to female. That's a condition. Only the female employees will be returned. Why? Because they fulfill the condition. See, that's the concept of limiting or filtering your results. And we do that through what? The where clause. And talking about the where clause, I want you to see the structure. So the where clause as a keyword you're going to put down for a condition. You need to know the column involved in the condition. You need to choose an appropriate operator. And of course, the value will always be in the equation. So this and this will always be known. It will be provided to you from the equation. So you will be the one to make an appropriate choice for the operator. And that's why the focus for this lecture will be on this table, operators in T-SQL. Right. And if you look at they fall under different categories. We're going to begin with the simple one, comparison operators. This is the list of all the comparison operators that are available. Right. The standard ones, let me just show you, is you don't need to uh, memorize all of those. The standard ones are like the equality, right? Equality, greater than, less than, equality, greater than, less than. Now we start looking at the negation. How do you negate the equality sign? List of students who are not female, so where gender is different from female, not equal female. That's what you can put down, right? And for the inequality, you use this, or you put an exclamation sign, you put equality, and you put an exclamation sign in front of equality. This symbol negates whatever operator you have right here. All right. So these are the standard ones: equality, greater than, less than, and then these are the negation. So this I'll put it next to this. All right. So how can you negate equality? You either do this, or you put this is the official symbol to negate anything that follows. And the next one, I have a greater than. Greater than. What if we're looking at employees whose salary is not greater than 5,000? Not greater than. This is greater than. How do you do not greater than? You just simply put that exclamation. So this is what I want you to remember. Each time you put this in front of an operator, it negates it. So these are the standard ones, and I'm now showing you the negation of them. See, for equality, there are two ways to negate equality. If you remember this, that's fine. Remember this, that's fine. These two will do the job. Now for less than, list of employees whose salary is not less than 3,000. See? So you have to put the less than. How do you negate this? Oh, this is very, very important. And that's a very powerful introduction, you see, right here. And then we also have those variations greater than or equal to, less than or equal to. List of students who were born on or before September 2022. On or before. And that's those variations on or before. See, greater than or equal to, where this is taking the on part, on or before, on or after. This is on or after because this is what greater than. On or before, on or before. So before you actually get to the cutoff mark, or on the cutoff mark. So we're gonna see all of this. So the way these questions will be posed to you, it will be in English. This is the equivalent translation in SQL. The operators you're gonna need. Right. So let's go over them again. This equality, this is very simple and straightforward. Right. This is what not equal to. See, if you remember this, that's fine. You remember this, that's fine. But what I want you to understand, exclamation in front of any symbol is a negation of that symbol. So what is this symbol? This is greater than, hence this will be what? Not greater than. What is this? This is less than, hence this will be what? Not less than. What is this? This is equal. This will be what? Not equal to. That's how I just want you to read that, you see. Right. Then we have the strictly greater than, strictly less than. We have the greater than or equal to. You see, greater than or equal to. I'm going to show you questions you can answer with this. Less than or equal to. Not less than, not greater than. Are there any confusion on any of the symbols before we start using them? So this is what they call the comparisons operators. We're going to start using this in the word clause. Any question on this? Okay, let's pick up some examples so that we can I'm gonna shut this down. So the first file we're gonna open is this one. Just a moment. Yes, let's go ahead and open this one. This file right here. SQL week 3 day 1 class query.
Bros,
Yes,
just a
question.
quick one, bro.
Yep.
Yes, question.
I mean, I understand exactly what you're saying, but just thinking out of the box,
Yes.
why do we have like a no clause?
Yes.
If why do we have a no clause if we can just use the other one? For example, like the exclamation that is saying the no, which is not less than, which means we want greater than. Why don't we just pull up the greater than and we have to use the no clause? So I'm just trying to understand.
Okay, that's a good point. Yeah. I will s-
Okay,
I
that's
will
good.
I will
I
discuss the
was,
question
I
that
was,
is related to that. Just a moment. Yeah, when I get to that, I will address that question. That's a very important question. Right. Um I think you've realized something. This is taking us to what we've treated already. Again, what is database was a table. Every question has to reflect these two questions. Right. You have to read the question, identify the database, read the question, identify the table. Right. This is very important. And then we talked about the value and column interaction. And we had this famous interview question, write a SQL statement which returns three columns A, B, and C with values 1 to 3. And knowing how to arrange them is very important. See that? So this is it right here. Right. So this just prepares your mind towards the actual select statement. Right. And in SQL, formatting is not an issue. You can type all of them on one straight line. Right. You can indent them like this and still nice presentation. So you're free. It's not a syntax violation. Right. Okay. So yeah, these are basic things we went over. So display name and commission for all salesmen. Salesmen, that's the inventory database. It's the first thing you do. What is the database? You connect to it right there. This is just revision. and we are working on the salesman table, and we want to return what name and commission. This is it right here. But the first thing you do is put an asterisk on the base query against the table, and then go replace the asterisk now with the specified columns. That is the workflow, right? Please always stick to that workflow, right? Okay, so this is what we've been doing. And again, this is just a revision on the distinct. Remember, distinct will return the unique outcomes from a given column, right? And always remember that in the case where you have a column that's a primary key, customer ID is a primary key. Putting distinct in front of a primary key is redundant because a primary key, by definition, is already distinct. So nothing's going to change. For example, if I run this part, the same number of rows I get is 91. Primary key, customer ID is a primary key. So no two customers should have the same primary key. That's already uniqueness. It's already distinct by definition. So when you go put distinct in front of a primary key, most people will question your understanding of a primary key. It's not that there's an error right here, but then from a theoretical standpoint, it shows that you lack the knowledge or the understanding of the primary key concept. So you cannot be doing a distinct in front of a primary key. A primary key is already distinct. You cannot be running a distinct keyword on a distinct column. See, so this is redundant. All right, so this is just a reminder, can apply distinct to the primary key. Primary key is already distinct. So these are crucial revisions that you have to understand. List of customers who have placed orders. Okay, now we go to the orders table. On the orders table, customer ID is what? It's a foreign key. One customer can place many orders. That's correct. So we can anticipate multiple from the same customer ID. You see, this is not the natural environment of the customer ID. It is on a foreign table, and you understand the business logic. One customer can place many orders. And each time a customer places an order, their customer ID will show up in the orders table. So you can see one customer's ID showing up multiple times. Like so, you see, this just tells you that this customer has been placing multiple orders. You see, so that's not strange, but you will not see this behavior on the customer's table. Why? Because on the customer's table, it is unique. So you have to understand the table you're dealing with and put the business concept on the column you're dealing with. So customer ID is on a foreign table on the orders table. Does the business permit one customer to place many orders? Of course, the business does. See, it's all about making profit. We cannot restrict the number of orders a particular customer can place. Right. So yes, you can put this thing in front of a foreign key. That's the point I'm trying to make right here. Foreign keys can have duplicates. So the distinct is required. You see that you cannot put a distinct in front of a primary key. It's already distinct. Right. So if I run this part, see what we get. We have 830 rows. You cannot tell your manager that there are 830 customer IDs. That's false because inside this 830, some customer IDs are being counted multiple times. If you're asked to return the number of customers who have placed an order, we are using the orders table. So that's when you're going to put a distinct in front of customer ID. This is not what you would do. This does not tell the business that 830 customers have placed orders. This is false. You see, in the customer table, how many customers are available in this business, in the database? It's just 91 or something. Let's run this and see. 91. This is valid information. There are 91 customers in the customers table. And then how come you tell the business that 830 customers have placed an order? You see, you maintain the column customer ID, but then you on a different table. On this table, duplicates on customer ID are allowed. This is what the orders tracking table. A customer can place many orders. So you cannot run this query and tell the business that 830 customers have placed an order. And also, you cannot stay on the customers table to tell the business how many customers have placed an order. This is just the customers table. We are dealing with databases. Every table captures specific information. If you go to Sam's Club, you're a registered member on Sam's Club. You can register as a member, but you don't pay, you don't purchase anything. So if you want to actually see those who have placed an order, you have to run the customer ID on the orders table. I want you to see how the table changes and you can back it up with the business. You cannot count the number of customers who have placed an order by running customer ID on the customers table. This is false. See that? So you must do that count on the orders table. Now you see that? And now we are here. You see the number goes up to 830. In this 830, some customers place multiple orders. So how do you embrace the distinct concept? Yes, you can put your distinct in front of it and run it. Out of the 91 customers in the business, 89 have placed an order. You see how the business the business inside your building from this database. And that's how you inform the business. You see, we have 91 registered customers. Where is that coming from? From the customers table. The 91 registered customers, you see that when you run the customers table. You see, out of these 91 registered customers, how many have placed an order? Right. And this is how you solve that question. This is it. You put a distinct, take note, we've switched to the orders table. And now you see we are 89 customers out of the 91 have played. I'm just showing you how you can derive business analytics from a customer's data set. Data is information. Data is raw information. When you analyze it, you now pull out what insights. And these are the insights that the business will use to make business decision. You see, this is not magic. You see, data is right there in front of you. When you analyze it, you bring out very useful information. Business insights. You see that? But this is another one. Lists the different countries our customer population is based on. You see, you have to put a distinct on the country name. One or two customers can come from the same country. So without a distinct, you'll be misinforming the business. If I just remove this and run this, you see, it gives me 91. See, but you see repetition, Brazil, see, the moment you put it distinct. So I'm just trying to highlight the importance of knowing the distinct concept, right? And in this scenario, it's when there's a combination. Please take note, this is what students always get confused. They put a distinct for city, put a comma, put a distinct. No, you cannot do this. Only one distinct applies, even if you're dealing with 50 columns, right? And in the case of two or more columns, we now focus on what? Combination. Each combination of city and country must be distinct. So if I remove the distinct, you may see same city and same country repeating. For example, you see Buenos Aires, Argentina, Buenos Aires, Argentina, Buenos Aires, Argentina, repeating 3 times. The moment I plug in my distinct keyword in front of these columns, Buenos Aires, Argentina would feature just once. This is very, very important. You see that? All right. So if I bring back the distinct and I run this, see now we have 91. If I run this, each combination of city and country will be unique. We are down to 69. And the Buenos Aires, Argentina is just once. So when you put a distinct in front of more than 2 columns, you're now focusing on the combination of the column. So each combination of city, same country can only show up once. That's what this is saying. I want you to see the interpretation when you're working on a single column. It's just this column. The values in this column will be unique. But then if you bring in another column, it's now a combination. Each combination, you see the description, each combination of city and country must be different or unique. And again, I've mentioned this, you cannot duplicate this. Students always think from a logical perspective, we should have distinct city, distinct country. Now, they keep this simple. One distinct is sufficient. Even if you are listing 50 columns on this side, it's only one distinct. And the interpretation is what? Combination. See? Any questions so far? This is just revision. We've touched base on this distinct concept. Finally, we can touch base on our where clause. This is our focus for today. Right. And we know that the where clause is used to filter records, and this is the structure right here. I want you to zoom into this. When you put in the where clause, you need to know the column that drives the condition. The value, of course, will be known in the equation. And now the appropriate operator, that's where we're going to focus on a lot. You see? Okay, let's get some examples. This is the very first one. Select all customers from the country Mexico. This is a condition. We don't want you to give us all the customers. If I run this without a where clause, I get all the 91 customers. And if you look at, they come from a variety of countries. You see, just focus on those customers from Mexico. Equality, because we know the value we are searching. That's why we go for equality. So is the equality. Where country is Mexico, right? So when you know the exact value you're searching, we always go for equality. So I'm just gonna put, yes, you see, Mexico is the value, and this value is coming from what? A country column. So this is the name of the column, equal Mexico. So whenever this column shows the value Mexico, that is our focus. The system will stop right there and return the value. So there are 91 rows. Please take note, the moment you click on execute, the system will apply that condition on each of these row by row. Even if there are 50 million rows, it will do the same. Is country equal to Mexico? So this is the condition. The condition column is right here. Is country equal to Mexico? False. Rejected. Country equal to Mexico? Yes. Maintain. Yes. So keep only those where condition evaluation true. And this is what we get. You see, out of the 91 customers, only 5 are from Mexico. You see that? This is very, very important. From tomorrow, I'm going to show you how you can display each country and you show the number of customers from that country. That's a counting process. We're going to do that tomorrow. That's when the real analytics begins. Show me each country and tell me how many customers are from that country. That's what your manager wants to know. So for today, we're just keeping it simple. We're just training the where clause, on individual basis. See that again, understand this structure, the structure of the where clause. Column name, operator, value. The value will always be in the equation. And from the value, you can link it up to the appropriate column and then read the equation carefully and decide on the correct operator. That is the focus for today. Interpretation, you see. Okay, let's see if we can extend this. So any question on this? This is basic. Let's switch to academia. I ping academy. This should be underscore SQL. Let me just check. If you start seeing a red flag on the column name, it means you are missing something. Yes, underscore SQL. So please just go ahead and add an underscore SQL right here. All right, so let's switch the database because this question will be on IPing Academy. So let's look at this instruction. Write a query to return the records for all students born on or after December this. On or after. On, equality. After, greater than. You have to combine the equality and the greater than. And what do you get? Combination of equality and greater than. This is this operator we're going to use. This is what? Greater than or equal to. Students were born on or after. I'm basically teaching you how to translate English to SQL. Because unfortunately, you cannot run. A student once asked me, why don't we just write an English instruction and click on execute? In that case, yeah, we don't need to learn SQL. Just use English and run it against the database. Unfortunately, the database does not understand English. The database engine does not understand English, you see. So as a data analyst, your goal will be to take a business requirement like this and translate it, use a language the system can understand so that it can go fetch this information. You see that? This is very important. This is a full list of students right here. We want to get the list of students that were born on or after this date. And you see why I always tell you to run a select star from the table The moment you run a select star from this table, you go to the date of birth column, this one. You see the structure, the format is different. This must be in the same format like this. You cannot be requesting something in a format that is not what is captured in the database. So remember, the first thing we're going to do is translate this date format into a format that this column can recognize. So we're going to put the year first, you put the month and the day. And that's the first thing you do. This is the translation. I always insist on this because students will just copy that value and dump it inside here. And when they run it, they get an error and you start asking yourself, where did I go wrong? But if you took a moment to run the select star from the table, you realize that, oh, date of birth is captured in a year, month, day format. And that is the first thing you need to translate. So we are dealing with what? The year first. You follow the format, put a hyphen. We are dealing with the month next, December, and last, 25th. This is what the database will recognize because that's the format those date of birth were captured in the table. If you don't do an exploration of the table, you're analyzing blindly. And a lot of people do this even inside a job. You see, they just look at the question, just run the code. Now you have to explore the table. Oh, date of birth, DOB. Yeah, this should definitely be date of birth. Although it's not, well descriptive, explore the table you want to analyze, even if it's 1 or 2 minutes. Explore it. Understand the table, understand the scope, and embed your condition. That's how you work. You see that? So please, I want everyone to understand why we had to transform the format of this date given to the format as captured in the table. That's the first thing you have to translate. Change the format. I've just shown you that if you copy this and dump it inside here, you're wasting your time. You did not explore. See, and it moves to every other question you're going to solve. This is wrong. You have to convert the format to the format that is supported by the table. It is year, month, day. The year is what, 1995. December, that's 12. And the day is what, 25th. Now you're good to go. And I want you to understand why we have greater than or equal to as the best operator to deal with this question. All students born on, that's equality, or after. So if I remove this part and I tell you all students born on December 25th, you have to drop the greater than. Don't create your own question and solve it. That's what data analysts always do. Solve the question from the business owner. That's the person hiring you and that's the person who is paying you. You see that? So you have to read the requirement carefully. Born on or after. Now you understand that on or after is what? Greater than or equal to. That's the translation. See, like I said, you always know the value and you can always link that value to the column. That's what we did at the beginning, showing you value and column interaction. So now in any question, you can identify the value and can link it to a column. But what they will not give to you is the operator to use. You will have to, build that operator yourself. On or after is what? Greater than or equal to. I want to stop right here. I want to make sure that we understand this. Any question right here? So you see, and if you go check, there's just 2 students who were born on or after that date. And if you check the dates, you see. Any questions so far? Right. Please understand this, why it was translated to this, and understand that on or after is what? Greater than or equal to. Are we okay? Yeah, this is really a fun process, especially when after the session, you sit back and type this out again. Practice this over and over, and feel free to pause and ask questions. What if I remove this string? What happens? All those what if moments are learning moments. You have to always question the system. Run this and you see date is a string, so it must be in the string environment. See, and that's how you learn. Right. Date is a string. Date is also a string. You see. Okay. Now let me just do this. Please challenge me with questions. Right. You want to make sure that you understand a good portion of the lecture in class, so that at home you can just go over it nice and easy. Let's take this next one. It's going to be a little bit different. All students born in the year 1992. If you do a select star from the student table, you run it, there is no column that is capturing the year of birth. That's the first thing you realize. See, again, the context is very important. So you cannot go and put date of birth where date of birth equal 1992. I start by showing you the error students will make. So you cannot remove this part and just say, hey, date of birth equal what? 1992. This is very, very important. And you just dump it like you see and run this. I start by showing you the errors you can make and I explain why it is wrong. Again, context. What is the context of the date of birth column? It is showing you three things. Oops. It is flagging three things put together. This is not a date. Date of birth, the data type is date. Always bring the data type into question. This is not a date. You see? So you cannot be taking a column that is capturing a date to equate it with a column that is just portraying one aspect of a date. You see, this is not correct. This thing is tracking three components of a date. This one is displaying just one, and you're putting equality. So you have to understand how out of context this is, and that's why the system gives you an error. Again, I keep saying this. A basic exploration of a table will reveal that information. Our date of birth has three components. It has the year, the month, and the day. Put together, it defines the date. You cannot isolate and just force it to one direction, you see. This is very important, and that's why to solve this question, we have to understand something. We have to translate this value, which is year, into a date format. So just ask yourself, all students born between this and this will be the translation. So 1992 starts on what date? So we're trying to transform the year 1992 into a date, and it's going to start on this date all the way to this date. That's how we've been able to transform the year 1992 into a date range. You see that? And that's how you're going to solve that question. But moving forward, I will let you understand that there is a function. This is just, let me show you this. The new query window. This is not the objective of this week. Moving forward, I will let you understand that there is a function all year. I just explained you cannot do this. 1992. Cannot do this. Why? Because what is on the left hand side is not in the same context as what is on the right hand side. But there is a function called year, which you can plug it on the column for date and tell it, can you just extract the date, only the date, sorry, only the year, and make it equal to this. This is not the focus of this week. You see, and this will go through. All right, and let me just add this as a column so you see what is going on. Just going to put a comma right here. So give me all the available columns, including this one. So the asterisk says that give me all the available columns, including this, and see what that column will look like. The focus is on the last column. See, let me just run it without the wire close so you see what it's doing. Focus on the last column, this one. You see what this is doing? It is going to the date of birth column and it is extracting just the year. These are what we call functions. We're going to see that on the fifth week. So we are gradually getting to that, you see. But just imagine you didn't know that there's a function like this existing. What will you do to solve this question? See, in this case, we can now take this column, which is this, and equate it to this because now they're on the same footing, same structure. they're extracting just the year. But you cannot, I keep repeating this, you cannot take a date of birth and point it to a year. It's a serious mistake. I want you to see it, right? And don't do this. This is very, very important. You cannot do this comparison. This is a comparison. If this is equal to this, it means this is equal to this. This cannot be compared. I want you to understand this. This is very, very serious. Right. And that's why we had to step in. But don't forget, don't bother about this. Let's knock this off. Let's deal with what we can do within the scope or within the objective of this week. You just have to take 1991 and flag it as a date range. 1991 starts on this date and ends on this date. And anyone that was born in this range was born in 1992. That is the interpretation. And now this is what we are doing right here. We now put where date of birth is greater than or equal to. So we start on this date and date of birth is less than or equal to. So anyone that was born in this range was born in 1992. You see that? This is very important. I want you to see we just went to a different direction on that. And these are the two students that were born in 1992. We don't care about the month or the day, but as far as we were born, the date of birth carries 1992. That's what we are targeting. See, this is very important. I want you to understand why we could not do this. See, you need to do this translation. And as we go higher in your SQL skill, this will be an easy question to solve. Just plug in the year function, transform this into year only, and then you can point it to this year. The left-hand side has the same format as the right-hand side. You can equate them. But at the moment, you cannot do this because the left-hand side has three components, year, month, and date. While you're just flagging one component, year, you cannot equate these two. But then you can now translate 1992 into a date range. And talking about a range, the best operator for range is the between. And look at how nice and easy this is. And between is an operator we're going to see. I can just take you to it. It's right here. Each time you're tracking an event that occurred between a start and an end, the between operator is the way to go. So selects values within a given range. A range has a start point and an end point. Give me a list of employees whose salary is between 50,000 and 150,000. That is a range. You can use the between operator to knock off that easily. So this is simple, direct stuff. See, 1992 is a range in the form of a date. This will be the start date and this will be the end date. And you see the start date is right here and end date. It's typically English. It just goes nicely. You cannot confuse the between operator. Where date of date between this start date and this end date. Anything in between qualifies. Execute. See, I understand that this is a little bit tricky. You have to put date of birth greater than this is the start date, and you repeat again date of birth less than that. You see, but in the between, you are referencing the column once. Between operator, you put the start date and end date. I want to stop right here. I want you guys to take a look at this and let's discuss. See, we've just used this opportunity to address a very important operator in SQL, which is built to address range. So whenever you're solving equation and you see a range with a start point and an end point, between operator. Right. Alternatively, you can use the comparison operator approach. Greater than or equal to, you put the start date and you repeat the column again, but this one is less than or equal to. So this greater than or equal to, less than or equal to. So you can put your left hand side, your left hand. I wish I could show this on the screen. But, so this, you see, this is a range. It starts from this and is going forward. It ends here. You see this arrow is pointing in this opposite direction. That's a range, right? So those that were born exactly on the 1st of January 1992, This is taking care of them. If I drop this one, those that were born on this date are not included. This is, you see, this is very important. So this is strictly greater than. So if we're born exactly on the 1st of January 1992, you're not part of this range. Why? Because I've dropped the equality. This is strictly greater than. All right. But then the between operator is an inclusive range. Those that were born on the border points are part of the range. If I drop this equality right here, anybody that was born December 31st, 1992 is not part of the range. But the between operator is not built like that. It is built to be inclusive. If you're born exactly on this date, you're part of the range. Exactly on this date, part of the range. That's why you see in the question, in the notes, the range is inclusive. So the begin and end values are included. Right. We're going to talk about that in the lab, so you can see practical questions that involve that.
Practical questions are involved.
Prof.
Yeah, question.
Yeah, question.
Yeah. So what if you invert it and you start with the less than or equal to and greater than or equal to, for the case of the first one?
That's a very good point, and that will be a
Where
Very good point. And that would be a value.
so that's going to be a violation. Let's see, because in the between operator is the lower range, the lower value first before the upper value. Yeah, let's switch that. And that's something very important, and that's what I want you to do when you're studying. Right? Have these questions, set them up. It's that you're learning. You see, just go to a new window like what I've done right here. Just copy and say, hey, but what if I switch this? What if I put this on this side? Then take this and put on this side. You see, and then let's run that and see what happens. You see, nothing. Are we okay? Because the between operator is built such that the lowest value should be the starting value, and the highest value should be the ending value. So it's a range, and that's why if you go right here, the begin, where does it begin, and the end. So the begin goes first. I think I will try that in different. I will try that in a different scenario and see. Right. But then you see right here, it gives you an empty set, so no value. So you're kind of going backwards in this approach. You put the end date first before the beginning date. So this is how you should arrange it. The start date is the lowest date, and then the end date is the highest date. You see, now that's going to be a range, anything in between that those two values, a start point and an end point. Nicely, you get this when you reverse it. This is an excellent question, and these are the kind of things I encourage you to do when you're studying. Right, just vary these things. You learn more. Whatever comes in mind, just apply it. See, no harm. You're learning. You're going to learn a lot from this, and that's a very important point. So now you understand that when you're dealing with the between operator, you start with the begin date. See, 1992 begins on this date, January 1st, 1992, and ends on this date, December 31st. So this is a nice way to arrange it. This is a recommended way to arrange it. That's an excellent question. See. Now, just remind me as we go into the between operator in other examples, I'll try to vary it. I'll switch and see. All right, so that we will do that a couple of times. We can now come up with a solid conclusion that, hey, always do the start date or the begin date first and then the end date next. What if they negate this? Since we're talking about between, let's see the negation. All students not born between this and this. Negation for comparison operator is this. If you're not in the comparison operator zone, negation, we're going to be using the not. So since between is not a comparison operator, you cannot go to and put this in front of it. This is a negation for what? Comparison operators. I want you to understand that. And comparison operators fall in this first zone you see right here. I really wish you understand this explanation, right? Because there are two negations we're going to see. The one with the exclamation, which is only for the comparison operator. Any other thing goes with the not. Not right here is a negation for not in. not between, not like. So anything that is outside the comparison operators, the negation for that is not. See, I want to teach you both sides. You don't know how the question will be phrased. You see, so this could be a potential question. You see, give me a list of students that were not born in this range. A company could give you a valid question to investigate. List of students, a list of employees that were hired during COVID, or a list of employees that were hired outside the COVID era. You see, you just have to know when did the COVID era begin and when did it end. You use the between operator and you get those that were hired in that era of COVID. See, those that were hired outside the COVID era, you just put not between. So that's why I want to teach you the two scenarios so that you're fully equipped. Right. We've been able to see those that were hired, sorry, those that were born within a certain range. You see, that's the between operator. I prefer the between operator than this one, you see. So this is how you're gonna do it, nice and easy. All students not born between the range between this and this. See, how will you solve that? It's the same thing, but then I just put not between. If you drop the not, you're looking at the positive side. Those that were born in this range, starting from this to this. And that's what we solved above. This is what you get. See? So the question is just simple. Give me every other student except these two. That's the meaning of not. If I put a not, I'm dismissing the two students I got in this range and I'm getting every other student. See? All right, so please understand you cannot negate a between by putting the exclamation. Why? Because between is not a comparison operator. The exclamation only goes for the comparison operators. Any other operator takes the not, reverses the result of a search condition. You see, this is very powerful information. I want you to understand this. So in this case, to negate the between, not is the correct operator to go. See, please, this is very, very important. All right, let's explore another example. Write a query to return the records for all students born between 1990 and 1995. Again, I forgot this right here. That's to make it inclusive. I'm not a fan of this approach. I prefer the between operator. You see, and again, they gave you the years. You have to understand that date of birth is a date, so you have to translate those years into dates, right? And I'll use this opportunity to talk about inclusive and exclusive. So this right here, let's begin with this one. Exclusive search. The start and the end points are excluded. If you are a student and you were born exactly on this date, you are excluded. Why? Because this is what greater than, strictly greater than. If you're a student and you're born exactly on this date, you're also excluded. Why? Because this is strictly less than. And that's the terminology exclusive endpoints. When the endpoints, the start and the end, are excluded from the result, you're dealing with what? An exclusive endpoint. If you want to do an inclusive endpoint, you have two options. You add this to it. This is what makes it inclusive. So if you're born exactly on this date, you're included in that range. This is the equality. So those that were born exactly on this date and those that were born after the date. You see, same thing on this side. Those that were born exactly on this date, this is the equality. It takes that into consideration. And those that were born before, you see the symbol is less than. This is before. So before we got to this date, right, and also including that date, I want you to learn how to interpret this. Right. So this is what we call an inclusive endpoint. The endpoints are part of the range. And, and that's the same thing the between operator is doing. So between is an inclusive range. And now you understand the meaning of a range being inclusive. It means that the begin and the end values are included. And a range being exclusive, it means you should drop the equality. Any student born exactly on this date is not part of the range. See, so when the equalities drop, the endpoints are excluded, and that's the meaning of an exclusive endpoint. If the endpoints are included, equality is present, inclusive endpoints, and you can do this option or this one. If you're dealing with an exclusive, you cannot do between, because between by definition is inclusive. All right, more examples on this is going to come. Okay, let's take a look at this. Please, if you look at this, this is 2019. You have to change. We have 2020. So basic exploration. I just ask questions. See, you're dealing with 2022. And last year I used 2019. So this batch we switched 2022. So just do that adjustment. This should not frustrate you when you're trying to study. So you're looking at Adventure Works 2022. That's the version you have. So all of this is 2022. If the note says 2019, just update it. Right. This question right here, you know where I got it? I got it from this PDF document. SQL question and answers. This our famous PDF document. And this is it right here. And if you just go to the zone filtering, so we've done the regular select the basic select statement without a where clause, just select and from, give us the columns you want to see and tell us the table to fetch them, finish. Now we are stepping up into the where clause that is filtering, and each of these questions you see right here, they do carry a condition. Right, it says here use Adventure Works 2008, so you're gonna use 2022. This is it, so switch to that. This is the same question I just copied from this PDF document. See, so I want to go to the PDF document so you see the original question. So write a query using a where clause. In businesses, they're not going to give you all this detail. They understand you're a professional. They'll just tell you what to do, give you the business requirement. They're not going to tell you to use a where clause. This is not what goes on in businesses. I want you to understand this is just a textbook example. And they want to kind of chew things and give it to you. Nobody will tell you to write this, give you using a where clause. No. You're a professional. Why should they tell you to use a where clause? If you see a question that needs a where clause, you know. See that? Yeah, you guys are a professional. So nobody should chew things and give it to you. You see? Right. So these are textbook examples. You see, from the phrasing of the way the question is phrased, you understand, hey, this is the textbook example. Right. I'm going to bring you real questions, project oriented, company based kind of questions. Right. But of course, we have to pass through this and build up. You see? So write a query using a where clause that displays all employees listed in this table. They even go ahead and tell you the table and the schema. Usually they will just tell you the table and you go investigate and find where the schema is. You see? But then you see they're giving you everything. You see? So employees who have the job title research and development engineer. This is very, very important. We are not looking for every employee, we are looking for specific employees with what? With this job title. So this value, and they've made you to understand that this value is found in a certain column, job title. You just have to investigate that table and you understand. So if you stop right here and let me just run this without the where clause, and I can just get all the columns. See, this is going to be your base query. This is how you explore a table. I keep insisting on the idea to explore the table you're analyzing, and you start seeing job title. And immediately you see something like research and development manager. No, that's not what you're looking for. Research and development engineer. So by reading this question, you must have understood that research and development engineer is a value. Values are hosted within columns. What column is hosting this value? Because we need that to build the where clause. You see the where clause is right here. It carries the column name, its job title, your basic research on that table will expose you to understand that, hey, job title is a column that is hosting the value research and development engineer. And now this is an equality. Why? Because we know the value we are searching. So each time our job title is exactly equal to research and development engineer, that's the person we are looking for. Those are the list of employees we want to return. You see that? And this is very, very important. And if you make a mistake and you type the value you're searching, the system will not forgive you. This is an exact search. In an exact search, there's no room for errors. If you miss out the arrow or you type engineer with an E, one E, you're failing. It is not what is captured in the table. It boils down to empty set. There's no forgiveness for typing errors. You must specify what is captured on the column. See how strict the equality operator is. This is very, very important. You see, and usually what I do in I just run, I just do a basic search, and I see research and development manager, research and development engineer. I don't want to type this. I just copy this, Control C. You can copy inside a column. Just highlight the value you want to copy, Control C, and now you can just remove this. Because if I want to type this, I might misspell or something like that. So I want to capture it the way it was in the database. Right. And now if I run this, I will only get the list of employees with the job title research and development engineer. And this is what we get. So out of, let me just run the one without the word clause. Out of 290 employees, only 2 employees have the job title research and development engineer. You see that? Now we are analyzing that data set. This is analytics. You see that? And I want you to understand why we use equality. It's an exact search. We know exactly the value you're searching. It is research and development engineer. You see that? And the question even goes further to tell you the specific columns to be returned in the final projection of this question. Display business entity ID. This is it, business entity ID. The login ID. This is it. And the title for each one. It just says title for each one. You have to go to the table to investigate and understand the title for each one. That's a job title column to return. I keep highlighting the need to study the table you're analyzing. Select star from the table. And this is it. Any questions so far? When you have this document, this is what I expect you to do. You copy this question. I keep repeating this. Copy this question. That's the best way to study. Put it on a new query window. Place this in a block comment environment. This is spreads across multiple lines. I'll format this to make sure it fits on a single window. I hate to read and scroll across to continue reading. So I always, do this to help. See? All right, now I have it on a single window. I don't need to scroll across to read. This question is based on what database? That's the first thing you need to do. Connect. This is how you study. It's an effective way to study. See that? Connect to the database. Read through the question did mention this table. Select star from the table. Execute. See, this is the workflow. And once you have the table in front of you, you can now read the question. It's going to make sense because you can relate the question to the table. The gospel truth is in the table, not in the question. Whoever's drafted this question does not know what is going on in the table. So you must make sure that what you're reading right here is in line with what the table is projecting. You see that? And now we can get to work. Right? We are looking for employees with job title research and development engineer. And job title is a value hosted within which column? The job title column. Okay, that's a good information I just gathered. And now I need that information to build my where clause and have to understand that the where clause goes what? Column name, operator, value. What's the column name? Job title. What's the value? I have to fetch that from the question. I feel much more secured when I copy it from the table itself, Control C, because the typing error could come from the person who built this question. So I prefer to go spot it in the table, copy the version from the table. And again, this is string, so I need this environment. This is it. When I execute this, so from the general perspective, there are 290 employees. This is the employees table. 290 employees. Of these 290 employees, how many have the job title, research and development? Only two. We don't need all these columns. Now you have to conclude this question by providing only the requested columns. Display business entity ID. I see it right here. You see, I read the column, I spot it on the table, I start typing. Next one is what? The login number. I see it right here. You see, I'm not doing a blind stuff. Like, this is how professionals work. You see, you're in control of the process. See, and what's the last one? The job, the title. That is to what? Job title. Please work as professionals. Have a routine. Have a workflow, and that's how you see. This is it. This is how you arrive at this. I. This is very, very interesting. You know, don't be scattered. Don't just do things haphazardly. Have a focus. Have a sense of direction. Have a routine workflow. See that? All right. Let's go back to this. So this is what we solve in the notes. You have this question, you have the solution right there. You go to the next. Don't look at my own stuff and you just highlight execute. You're not learning. You have to type these things out. So extract the question, solve it, and type it out, and run it. Let's look at this one. Rewrite the query you wrote in question one, changing it so that the employees who do not have, this is a negation. We've talked about negation. So what operator did we use in question one? Equality. Now you just have to ask yourself, how do you negate equality? In the notes, we have two versions. What is the note right here? There are two ways to negate equality. This is the first version, this one, and this is the second version. See, you have to understand that equality is a comparison operator. So nobody should do not. This is not valid. Why? Because this is a comparison operator, and the way to negate a comparison operator is either the exclamation in front of it or this symbol. See, this is very, very important, and hence, see, I can knock this out, and this is now that question. Same thing. So I'm going to give you the first option, option one. I'm going with this as a negation. So out of 290 employees, two had the job title research and development. We have to show every other person except these two. That's the meaning of this negation. So guess what? You can guess the answer. It will be 290 minus 2. And this is a 288. So 2 had research and development engineer title. 288 did not have that. You see, this is what? Not equal to. So this is the first option with this symbol. The second option is this one. You see, I am sticking to the notes. You see, this option or this option, anyone, feel free. This is the negation. Again, you're getting the same outcome. 288. Now, the last one, it's something I saw others doing at the job site, which I'm not a fan of, but then you see people code in different ways. I just mentioned you cannot use not in front of equality. Some other developers will build this as the positive and they put not in front of the entire condition. I know this is going to confuse you a little bit, but with time you get to understand that this also works. Right, I just added this option of recent when I saw a couple of colleagues doing this. It's still negation. So if I drop this, notice the position of the not. You cannot put it right here, right? Because this is not a comparison operator. The best approach will be this one. That takes you to this one, you see? Right. So if you want to use a not, you have to put it right here. This is funny, but hey, now just focus on option one and option two. Right. I'm just gonna skip that one. Any questions so far? So we see we're making progress. We've covered a couple of examples on this zone, and we've also skipped to the between. We've seen the between, not between. We are gradually making progress. And again, you should always work with this document. See, look at question 2. Write a query using a where clause that displays all names in the person table with the middle name J. So the middle name should be equal to J. That's it. This is a condition. Are we okay? Alright, so I expect you to just copy this question and solve it and compare your answer with what is flagged right here. Let me see if we can go a step further. Before we get to the in operator, let me just go back to this. Let's look at this question right here. Doing some translation, write a query displaying all columns from this table. Rows that were modified on, and they give you a certain date. On exactly on this date is equality. Please take note, exactly on a date that's equality. If you put on or after, you're now dealing with. So exactly on a date that's equality. What is that? My operators, this is it. On a certain date. Students that were born on a given date. Employees that were hired on a certain date is equality. There's no doubt on that, you see. Employees that were hired after a certain date is greater than, strictly greater than. Employees that were hired on or after a certain date is this one, greater than or equal to. You have to start learning this little, distortions. It shouldn't throw you off. You should get it correct. And that's why you see in that question, I did highlight that particular part. Modified on, this is equality. So this is now us zooming, to get to the appropriate operators to use. This question we've solved. So employees who do not have the title research and development engineer, you see, I've solved this question with 3 options. I did provide you guys with 3 options to solve that. This is how you negate equality. This is another option. See, and all of those you can find them in the lecture material. All this equates to what? Not equal. Are we okay? So this is the comparison operator section. Right. Any question on comparison operator, the next set of questions will come during the lab, but I just want you to understand the interpretation of and the meaning of each of these symbols and how to use them effectively in problem solving. Any questions so far? I know very well you have this question in mind. What if we're given multiple job titles to search? Yeah, students will always ask that. So what if you're given some other 2 or 3 job titles? Here is just one job title. Can we search 2, 3, 4 different job titles at employees with job title this? See, can we do that? The answer is yes, and that is the use of the in operator. I want you to always remember that in is a list of values. In supports a list of values. In that list, there could be just one value is accepted. There could be 2 values to search is also accepted. There could be 3, there could be 4, and so on. That is the in operator. I'm going to that right now. In operator allows you to specify multiple values in a where clause. The in operator, we're going to talk about this briefly, but for now, let's just focus on this. Right? So if you're searching for multiple values in a given column, give me a list of students who live in Dallas, San Antonio, Houston, and Fort Worth. Those are 4 different cities within Texas. Can you solve that question? The answer is yes. You will use the in operator and you're going to list out all those cities in a set of parentheses. That's how easy the in operator is. So, right. So if you're searching for one go with the equality. If you're searching for multiple, switch to the in. And let's talk about that. So list of employees with job title research and development engineer. That's just one value you're searching. This is it. We used equality. It's just one value. You see, I'm going to extend this question to multiple job titles to search at the same time. List of employees with the following job title. So any employee that has this title, let's search for that. This one or this one. These are three different job titles we are searching. Guess what? Immediately we bring in our in operator and open and close a set of parentheses, and we simply list those three values inside. This is very easy, guys. This is the first one. You can put them in any order. This is the first one, comma. Second, I just want you to see how you're going to code that, comma, and the last one. And the system will search, and if any individual, any employee has any of these job titles listed, they will be shown in the final result set. So this is how you can search for multiple values in a given column. You see, the first one returned is what? Senior tool designer. Is it in the list? Senior tool designer is this one. Only values in this list will be returned. Any of the values. This is very important. So if you look at this, you find it on the list. Any value that is returned right here, you will find it on the list. Same thing. Research and development engineer 2, and this is it right here. You see? Senior to designer. So any value you're getting, the outcome is one that was in the list. The moment you drop any of them from the list, for example, I change my mind and drop this one, I run it, it will also update the list. See, this is very important. All right, so let's run it again. See, it ups. I think I did. Okay, let's, yes, we are back to 2. Let's run this. It is going to reduce. We've dropped 2, so it's just senior to designer and research and development engineer. See, and that's the outcome you're getting. And you can also search just one value in the list. So this is the same as using an equality. So you can either just go ahead and put your equality, or you can still put it in a list. But most often we reserve the in operator when you're dealing with more than one value. Right. So this is it. This is very, very important. Right. I know you probably had this question in mind. But what if we are asked to search for more than one value in a given column? The answer is the in operator. A list of values searching for multiple values from a given column in operator. And let me show you how some other person will solve this question. They're going to target the individual values one by one. So the first one is what? Job title equal research and development engineer. This is the first one. So I'm searching only that one. Run it. You see, I only get research and development engineer. Second one, you see the connection or. So let me explain this to you. And or. They come in when you have multiple conditions. They give you a way to link the conditions together. Give me a list of students who are female and live in Texas. Those are two conditions. If the two conditions must be fulfilled, you use the and operator to combine them. If the two conditions must not be fulfilled, if one is fulfilled, the other one fails, that's when the or comes in. You see that? This is very, very powerful. So you can now see how you can combine two or more conditions. You see? This is you see that? So you type each, spread them out separately. This is targeting the first one, research and development engineer, or is flexible. You go to the next one, job title equal design engineer, or the next one, job title equal tool and design engineer. And this is what you get. And that's why in the notes, it says that the in operator is a shorthand for multiple ors, this one. So if you use the in operator, your typing less is shorter than using multiple ors. So this is the in operator right here. See, I've just mentioned job title once and I've typed all the three values I'm searching using the in operator. Now this is the extended format using the OR operator, multiple OR conditions. You are repeating each separately. Job title equal to this, or job title equal to this, or see that. I have a question for you guys. Let me copy this. I have a question. I want to show you these two things. I want you guys to explain to me the difference. And that would be the best way. We just ran this one and it gave us values. Can somebody explain to me why this is gonna return nothing? And that is the foundation for understanding the difference between the use of the or versus the use of the and. Always want to go through this route so that students understand the meaning of using an or and the implication when you use an and. This is us using an or. We have an output right here. When we switch to and, this is what we're getting. I need somebody to explain why this returns no information. Is it possible to go to a company and you find an employee who has a job title research and development engineer, and that same employee has a job title design engineer, and that same employee has the job title senior tool designer? Is this possible? You have to understand that and is the equivalence of what? Mandatory. It is a must. This condition must fulfilled together with this condition, together with this condition. So all three conditions must be fulfilled. It's a must. So these are what? Mandatory conditions. You will never go to a company and find the same employee who has these three job titles simultaneously. And that's why this returns an empty set. So the AND operator is used only when you have conditions that must be fulfilled. Returns true only when both conditions are true. So all these conditions I've stated right here, they must be true for any employee that will be returned. And again, it's just like saying that give me a list of students who are both male and female. So gender equal to male and gender equal to female. If you run that in academia, you get an empty set. But if you relax the condition and put an or, and that's the power of the or, you see? If you find this title good, if you find this title good, if you find this title good, it is not a mandate. It's not mandatory for you to find all of the three simultaneously. You see, that's the power of the or operator. So if any of the conditions hold, any of them hold, that person qualifies to show up in the result set. You see, this is very, very important. I'm going to come up with more questions on this so that you understand. You see, I'm already attacking this one. And or you have to know when to use them. Right? There must be a way to combine conditions. I cannot just type all these conditions and I remove this. This is an error. How do you link this condition to the next one? And how do you link this one to the next one? There are two things you can use, and or. If that's not enough, you have to go back to the question and read carefully. If these are optional constructs, then you can connect them with the and operator. If they are mandatory constructs, you can connect them with the and operator. And this is very conservative. This is very strict. It means that all these three conditions must be met simultaneously. And it's really difficult to find an employee that has these three job titles at the same time. All right, so please, this conversation right here is very important. All right. Let me demonstrate something again on this and or. Let's go back to the student table. Let's do this. Use AdventureWorks. AdventureWorks. Let's go for the big one. This. Let me just demonstrate something right here. Let's run this. We have Let's go to the human resource. So I'm talk about on the human resource schema. Human resource, human resources dot. Let's go to the employee. Let's run this. Give me a list of female employees who are single. The two conditions: female employees are single. List of female employees who are single. This is typically how business questions will be asked. You see, they don't give you any clue about you have to explore the table yourself and understand the structure of the table. Yes, I have a column here called marital status. It has S for single, M for married. This is now me bringing the business side of this table. And I have the gender column, M for male, F for female. So if I want to solve this question, I need to understand this table and understand these columns. Right? So this question has two conditions, one on the marital status and the other one on gender. So you have to code them. So let's engage this process. You can begin with whichever one. Female, okay, let's do gender equal to M. This is me addressing the condition on gender. When you're looking at what female, it says F. You cannot just go blindly and say gender equal to female. Again, I keep telling you, explore the table. And this is what you find yourself when you don't explore the table and you run it is empty because the gender was not captured as male or female like the way you've put it right here. A simple exploration of the table will reveal to you that gender is captured as M or F. So in this case, you adjust this either uppercase or lowercase. Now you're talking, you see. Always explore the table. Don't just, you know, force things into, yeah. This is very important. There's no way I can overemphasize that concept. It's natural. Every data analyst analyzes, explores a table first before solving questions that are relating to that table. This is very important. That's why the base query is very important. Select star from the table, display it, go over the columns, read the question again, see the columns that you will need to solve the question. Right, and within each column, see the values that you see. I cannot still make that same mistake and go marital status equal to married and I type M like married. You see, this is very important. You see, simple exploration of the table. It's very, very important. What's the next condition? Right. These two conditions are mandatory. If I go back and read this question, list of female employees who are single, this is a mandatory condition. You must be a female and you must be single. So this is how I'm going to link the conditions. An operator. Why? Because I have two conditions and both conditions must be true. Both, not one of them. All right, both conditions must be true. So I have to now bring in the second condition, which is what? On the marital status should be equal to what? Single. And if you go in there and type single, you're wasting your time. This is the database does not recognize this. There's no value captured in the marital status column as this. A simple exploration will you discover it is either S or M. Nothing more, nothing less. And that's where the power of the distinct comes in. If you just let me show you this. See, go to this basic exploration, just put your gender or if you want to explore your marital status, just do this. What are the different options for marital status? See, select this thing. See, it helps you. See, it's either M or S, nothing more, nothing less. So if you're typing your own stuff right here, you're wasting your time. You see, if you run this, it's an empty set. I can guarantee that. See, you have to understand from this exploration that on marital status is either M or S. That's it. End of story. See that? So I'm going to remove this part. That's just an exploration. And now you understand that, hey, we have to put this to S. This is a mandatory condition. Why? Because we are using the AND operator. The gender must be female, it's non-negotiable, and the marital status has to be S single. And these are the employees you're interested to see. You see that? And if you can go validate, you see, on the marital status, everything is S. If you see an M, in fact, you're not going to see that. And on the gender column, everything is F. That is the power of the AND operator. So both conditions or all conditions, you've linked them, they must be met, mandatory. If I do a simple adjustment on this, my query, and I change this to word or, I'm making this condition very relaxed. I'm saying that if you are a female, yes. If you are married, it's still fine. If you are single and you're male, it's still going to show up. Somebody has a question. Melvis, is that Melvis or Cleveland?
So I'm sorry, I'm in a, I'm driving, so I just touched it by mistake.
Okay, no problem. Yeah. Okay, just mute yourself. Yeah. Okay, let's look at this one. So if I run this, see what happens. In fact, in order for me to focus your attention on one spot, I will just go ahead and pull up a series of columns. I want to just make sure that I guide your attention to one series of columns. But project those many columns, it's serious distraction. I'm just going to put gender now and then marital status so that we zoom into this. Forget about every other column and just focus on columns I am projecting right here. So I'm going to do the same on this other side. This will help you to focus when you are projecting all those other columns as a distraction. So let's run this one. And now we understand. You see, now you see I can focus your attention on these two. I think this is a mandatory condition, and F and F, it is a must. Every employee you've projected, all these 35 employees, they are all female. First condition met, all female, mandatory. Second condition also met, all these 35 employees, they are all single. This is a mandatory condition. You see? Yes, now you understand. That's how AND works. But for all, this is where things become interesting. And remember, here was what, 35 employees. All right, 35. You see, number of employees, you can always go to the bottom right hand corner and see the number right there. Let's run this one and see what happens. We'll get more than 35. We're having 193. This is a much more relaxed condition. It's saying that as long as you qualify for any of them, this or this, you're good to go. And that's why you see a funny thing. Somebody is showing up here. This is a male. But the original question was what? Females that are married, are single, sorry. You see, the moment I just do this simple change right here, but notice you will never see an employee that fails on both conditions. You will always see an employee that fulfills at least one of the conditions. That's the goal of the OR operator. See, returns true if either. So either of the conditions can be met. You're fine. This person is showing up because they met the marital status criteria, S, single. They failed on the gender criteria. So either must be met. So they met this one. They qualify to show up. If you look at this one, they met both. It's female and single, yes. Look at this one. They met one and failed on the other, but they still show up. That's why you see this number blows up to 193, because this is a much more relaxed condition. As long as you're meeting any of these conditions, you will qualify to be shown up. You see, but in this one, this is very strict condition. You must meet the two conditions before you can show up, and that's why when I run this one, you see, on every single row, the two conditions are met. This is mandatory. So there should be no confusion as to when to use the and or the or. Are we okay? This is very, very important. Please, any question on this? This is just an example I wanted to pull up and show you. Yes, SQL has a way. when you're dealing with multiple conditions, there's a way to connect them. If I drop that, it is not a comma. You type one condition, put a comma, and type the other condition. This is wrong. You must use either the and the or. These are the two ways to connect conditions. I want you to see where the and the or comes into the picture. If you're dealing with just one condition, yeah, I mean, you don't need to yeah, this one, I just want to get all the female employees. End of story. This is either 84, see. But the moment I'm tracking some other condition, hey, I cannot state one condition, put a comma and state the other. This is syntax violation. You must use the and or the or. The choice of the and or the or depends on the question. You have to read the question again and see, is the condition mandatory? List of female employees who are single. It is yes, this condition is mandatory, and hence the and is appropriate. So you're not going to be solving this question with this. Nope, you will solve it with this. Right. And then when do you use an or? It's in point right here. This where we had a list of job titles to search. All right, this is the boring version where we type them one after the other. All right, better still, since they're all tied to the same column, we could just type the column once, job title in, and we type the list of job titles. So this is what we call the shorthand version, the in operator. This is the shorthand version. Instead of typing those multiple conditions separated, we put them all in a list environment, in operator, shorthand version. And this is the multiple or condition. This is the extended or the long version where you spread out. Each condition is tied to one of the value, or a condition tied to another value. This is it. And that's why when you go to the notes, you see this terminology, this description. The in operator is a shorthand for multiple or conditions. So please understand, if you're searching a single value, equality. If you're searching more than one value, in operator, and you list out the values. You see that? Yeah, let me see if I can extend this. Let's see. Let's go to the next. This list of employees with job title not in the list below. So yes, you can use the in operator and you put a not in front of it. This is a negation. You see, list of employees with job titles not in the list below. This is the list. And the list goes into what the in operator. And how do you negate not in? The same thing we did for not between. So in is not a comparison operator. We cannot use the exclamation to negate it. Again, very important. I don't want to see anybody doing exclamation in front of in. This is a negation. This is wrong because in is what? In is not a comparison operator. In is not a comparison operator. So if you're not a comparison operator, your negation will be not. That's the same thing we did in the between. Between, not between. You're going to see the next one. It's like, not like. In, not in. This one is going to be a little bit different. The not will go in the middle. Is null, is not null. We're going to get to that when we see. So this is a negation. So every employee that will be listed are those employees whose job titles are not in this list. Let's see if I run it. You can take the first one, Chief Executive Officer. That's true. Chief Executive Officer is not in these three listed job titles. Next one is what? Vice President of Engineering. Again, it's not in that list. Engineering Manager. Again, it's not in this list, you see. And so on. Tools Designer. We don't have that. We have what? Senior Tool Designer. Not tool, you see. Yes, that's the progress right there. Any question? So please, this needs a lot of practice. Again, this project management, we did not, I gave this an assignment to build this. I did not follow through with it, but anyway, that's fine. I'm just going to skip it. For this project management one, I have this right here. I will just copy this and replace. Yes, instead of using that project management, I didn't follow through with the build process of that. We'll replace it with this one for the explanation of or versus and in this lecture note. I will just go ahead and remove this. So everything on that project, I remove this and paste this one. I'm going to share that same material with you guys. I'll put it in the chat window. So please, on the and or side, you have to replace the equation on project management with this one. So I'm just going to go over it again. So this is the zone. I want you to update that part. We did not end up building the project management database. So in the and the or, replace it with what I just placed on the chat window. And there's a question right here, list of female employees who are single. So the correct approach is this one. This is a mandatory condition. Both conditions are needed. So if both conditions are needed, both conditions must be met. Both conditions are needed. See? Hence, this will be a case for the AND operator. This version is not correct. This is not correct for this particular question. It might be correct in some other question. This is not correct. Right? Need both conditions must be true. Right? I will just stop right here so that you can update that particular part of the lecture material. And the next one will be dealing with the nulls. Right. Let me go back to that document and let's see what we've covered so far and see if we can spot equation that is related to what we've covered. Yeah, there's one right here, between, not between. We've talked about this. Please, it's your responsibility to go check out these questions. Filtering with wildcards here, we're going to talk about this shortly. Multiple predicates. And I see this question right here. Explain when it makes sense to use the in operator. So you probably want to use the in operator when you are checking a column for more than one possible values. Yes, when you're searching a column, multiple values in a column, in operator. This could be an interview question. What's the difference between the in operator and the equality operator? The equality operator can only search for one value in a given column, one value at a time. The in operator can search for multiple values. See? So this is very important. And there's also something I want to mention, the use of parentheses. Right, the use of parentheses. You see? Anyway, I'll come back to that. This, yeah, I think I have it in the lineup. Let's just, yeah, parentheses. Do I have it? Using parentheses, yeah, this is, we're going to come to that. Okay, let's just go ahead and it's 12 already. Let's take a 20 minutes break. Yeah, I think let's take a break. After the break, we're going to be talking with nulls, missing data, missing information. All right, let's take a 20 minutes break. So after the break, we're going to be looking at the is null operator. Yeah. So I'm going to set the timer for a 20 minutes break. And I'm also, I think I'm going to pause the video and resume after the break.